It doesn't matter, just go.
User in your channel started
All right,
recording.
welcome to another...
Hold on, give it a pause and then go.
Do you want me to record too, or... I mean, I can send it over.
No, I think the 2 is just going to be fine. Plus, we're all right here, so it'll be easier. Schweiss, you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Give yourself a 7-second countdown and then start.
Welcome to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the ultimate Final Fantasy podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Schweiss.
I am Joe. We got 2 other people in here. Let's have you guys go.
I'm Mecha Messiah.
And I'm Caleb Craig.
And today we are going to be talking with Mecha Messiah, one of our supporters on Patreon. So everybody give him a hand.
Yay.
I would clap, but it's too difficult.
It is way too difficult. We are all recording this via TeamSpeak right now, so the recording quality is going to be a little bit different, and I hope that's not too much trouble for you guys. So let's get started. Caleb Schweiss, do we have any reviews today?
Yes, in fact, we do. We
sweet.
got a couple more from the UK.
Oh, nice. Are you going to read those for us?
Yeah, I'll read them.
You got it pulled up yet?
Yeah, I do. Alright, so the first one was delivered to us on the 4th of December from Hiromi, and it's titled Freaking Fantastic in Every Way.
That's
It's a
true.
5-star review. Yeah, I agree. I like that. He says, he or she got put onto this podcast by Samuel Croft a few months ago, and it has been one of the best things I've had on my iPhone for a long time. I've been playing Final Fantasy games for 15 years now, and love hearing the guys on this podcast going through each game. The 2 guys on this podcast are incredibly passionate and enthusiastic about the games.
So passionate.
Yeah, the fan fiction really proves that. And have a fantastic wealth of information. The
I don't
humor,
know about that.
Yeah, me neither. But the humor that's built into each show is great. They've researched behind the legendary titles and have produced some great content on the history of the games that I've personally enjoyed. I've just joined soon.
You're cutting out twice.
Oh, am I okay now?
You're okay now.
Thanks very much for the great content and keep up the great work. Oh, that was sweet.
Who was that from?
It was from Hiromi.
Thank you very much, Hiromi, and I know we have one more, don't we?
We do. It's another one from the 6th of December from Robert Callan, titled What a Podcast. Wow, this podcast has single-handedly rekindled my love affair with Final Fantasy. I've listened to other Final Fantasy podcasts, and though I enjoy them, they focus too much on FF News or Final Fantasy XIV. These guys do a perfect mix of news and game talk, that being a small section of news and lots of talk about the games themselves, which is what fans really want here. The podcast hosts are also what makes the podcast so good, being quite funny dudes that obviously love the subject matter they are talking about. Keep up the great work, guys. P.S. It's worth listening just to hear their rendition of Otherworld from Final Fantasy X. Reworked lyrics for the question segment.
Thank you very much. That took us a couple hours to do, didn't it?
It did, and my throat was destroyed afterwards.
I made Caleb do all the lyrics and everything, so it was nice.
Yeah.
I didn't have to work on it as much as I did the other little jingles that we had.
Yeah.
Well,
it's okay, because my voice is pretty bad anyway for singing, so might as well shoot mine instead of yours.
Mecha Messiah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So, screen name's Mecha Messiah. Real name is Ryan. I'm over here in the middle of nowhere in Wisconsin. So I'm pretty much kind of the same weather as you guys in Utah.
I think it's a little drier over here.
Yeah, most likely. It's pretty wet and rainy and wintry every day of the year.
I'm sure it's plenty cold though.
Yeah. No, I've been a Final Fantasy fan for 15 years. That's more than half of my life. And there's really not many good Final Fantasy podcasts out there, so I enjoy listening to yours, obviously, or I wouldn't be here. And yeah, I'm a huge, Final Fantasy 14 player. I was trying to get in with Caleb Craig every now and then, but I think just scheduling kind of sucks with that, with jobs and family and everything. But yeah, it's an honor to be here. I'm glad to be able to enjoy discussions and just shoot the breeze about Final Fantasy for a while. That'll be great.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being on and supporting us on Patreon. We're happy to have you here tonight, and we've set up this whole TeamSpeak bullshit just for interviews with you and with any other people that come along for Patreon or anybody else who listen to our podcasts. We have a TeamSpeak 3 account up for you guys, so check out the forums and make sure to check that out. Shall we get to news, everybody?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's get to news. Okay, we can take a break. I'm going to grab some coffee, and Ryan?
Yeah.
That's your name, right? Feel free to cut us off or cut in whenever you want, and Caleb Craig also, though you seem to be really quiet, Caleb.
He's
Really?
shy, it's okay.
I guess.
Yeah, don't pick on him.
I'm sorry,
Sensitive.
Caleb, if you're offended that I wanted to make your nickname KFC, it had nothing to do with the fact that I was really eating Kentucky Fried Chicken at the time. I'm sorry.
Dude,
No, it's totally fine. Those are my initials anyway, so...
Exactly, but I was eating Kentucky Fried Chicken at the time, and it was serendipitous that your initials were KFC. So I will not call you that on the air, though. We'll save that for the forum.
Well, I have a buddy that we refer to as Colonel Sanders because his last name is Sanders.
That's small world.
there's a lot of KFC references around here.
That's too much chicken.
Yeah. What's awesome though is when I met Caleb in high school, he wouldn't tell me what his middle name was. He would not mention it, and then one day they were talking about him being related to Philo T. Farnsworth, the guy who invented the TV.
Yeah.
And then Caleb got all quiet, and we were walking home, and I was like, "Your initials are KFC, aren't they? Your middle name is Farnsworth." And he's like, "Damn it!" And I'm like, "Man, no wonder he didn't want me to know."
At least now, though, he can use Professor Farnsworth from Futurama, and it'd be a little bit different, kind of a nerd for a different generation.
That's true.
Dude,
I mean,
I love Futurama.
Who the hell knows what a cathode ray tube is anymore these days?
I don't know.
Except for you, because your middle name is Farnsworth.
That's true.
But it's the people like that you want to have on your trivia team, because they're the ones that have that random information.
Yeah, you always want the random information.
That's all my brain is full of useless, trivial knowledge that works great in the bar trivia scene, or games like Trivia Crack and Quiz Up and stuff.
Yeah, same here.
So how far are you in 8?
What?
Other Caleb. In Final Fantasy 8. Are you done yet? Halfway? Disc 2 is what it sounded like you said.
Yeah, I'm on disc 2. I
back.
just barely fought the Rujin and Fijin, whatever their names are. Am I saying that right?
It's Fujin and Rajin,
Fujin and Rajin.
with the J being soft like that.
Okay. I just barely fought them, and right now I am killing the Toneberries to get the Toneberry King. Just get that
that's
out of
such
the way
a pain,
early.
Yeah.
Ooh, this coffee is strong, man.
Though I bet at level 11 it's probably not as a pain as it was at level 40.
I don't know.
Probably not.
Hey,
I did it at level 13.
God, there's too many people there. All right. So, guys, I'm going to actually keep this unedited recording for the YouTube channel because I know they can't give video of behind the scenes, but this could help. Kind of with that.
Alright.
Are we all okay with this? Don't say anything racist or horrible.
Damn.
I'll try.
All right.
I hope nobody takes offense to chicken, because I did kind of make fun of Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Oh, no one's going to take offense to that.
All right,
If they do, that's too bad.
Too bad, you're going to get used to it.
Yeah. Have you
All
not
right.
heard?
Caleb, Craig, you have our first piece of news, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started. Give it a couple seconds of silence and then go.
Okay. All right, the first bit of news that we've got today is that Final Fantasy 13-2 was released on Steam.
Woo!
And
Yay!
yeah,
I got my copy.
nice. It is also available for $20.
Also available for $20 somewhere
Well,
else, or it's also
it is.
available?
It is available for $20.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Okay, Mecha Messiah, you got a copy?
Yeah, I picked up my copy. I have all the Final Fantasies on Steam, and it's just because I guess for one, I never picked up 13-2, so this was kind of it'll be a new experience for me, and I never beat the first 13, so I'll be playing those back to back eventually. But you know, I got Steam does their pre-order sales where you get 10% off, so I got it for the whole whopping $18. So
Nice deal.
That was a deal. But no, they promised to have it at that that magical 1080p number that everybody seems to be so anxious to have on their system. But
Right.
I'll see what it looks like when I get to it.
Nice. Caleb Craig, didn't you have the original 13?
Yes, I got 13. It was stuck on 720p.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have
So
that
horrible.
too, and I mean the 720p is a little bit different because the PlayStation 3 version was in a higher quality, at least for cutscenes. The gameplay graphics you don't notice too badly.
I think they have an update now that changed it so that you can adjust it to 1080p.
I think so too. I think we announced that last week.
They do, but it took an outcry of people on Twitter and the forums to make it happen, and a guy to mod it for them to do anything to have it. So, I mean, I guess I understand it's easier to port over the Xbox version because it's already running on the x86 kernel. But I mean, clean it up a little bit instead of waiting 3 months.
Yeah. Well, they'd love to do that. They like to have everyone else do their stuff for them sometimes, like with Type 0, the fan translation. Like almost all the way done, and then they're like, let's take this now.
Yeah, they like to wait until someone else does it, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but hey, at least it's done.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so what's our next piece of news, Schweiss?
Alright, so Final Fantasy X and 10-2, not 10-do.
Tendu.
Ten deuce.
10-do. HD remaster officially confirmed for PS4. It's no longer the unofficial leaked store screenshot.
I am kind of sad that my PS3 version, like the bullshit version that I got with the booklet and like the Blu-ray of the soundtrack, I'm kind of disappointed that I'll have to buy another one when I get a PS4.
You don't have to buy another one.
Well, no,
You
not
do
that.
if you want to play it on the PS4.
If I want to play it on the PS4, yes.
I think I mentioned in the forums that what are you going to HD remaster? Are you going to HD remaster that and put it in the 4K resolution, or what? I mean, what can you do other than re-release the same game for $60 that you've already probably spent 30 to 40 on?
Right. It's going to be priced at 50, but still, I know what you mean. It's still $50. I mean, shit.
When I can get the Vita version for 20 and the PlayStation 3 version for 20, I can get $40 for already two systems.
Right. And I mean, I can see that too, and that's where the boat I was in when they first announced it, but I can kind of see where it's not too big of a deal. It's more of, if you want it on your PS4, if you didn't get into the game before, now you can. So, whatever. I'm not going to get it because I own 10 and 10-2's original Final Fantasy or PlayStation 2 release, and I'm just going to play those.
And who knows? Maybe that'll lead to a Steam version down the road because that makes it so much easier to port it over again.
Right, and I hope it does. They should have all of them on Steam, really.
Seriously.
It would be so good for them.
It'd be so good for us.
And us, yeah.
They should have all the spin-offs, too, and then we don't have to, like, go buy a bunch of different systems, like the Wii, which I never got.
Yeah, agreed.
All right,
Yeah,
so...
good luck on the Crystal Chronicles.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Schweiss, don't we have another piece of news that's kind of similar to that? A lot of people are mad about.
Oh yeah, the Final Fantasy VII, they said they're bringing it to PlayStation 4, which apparently a lot of people assumed was them remaking the game. I don't know, what did you think when they announced that, Mecha Messiah?
I saw the title, and at first I thought there's no way that's a real news story. And then when I saw all the memes regarding what it really was, I felt trolled like everybody else, but it wasn't unexpected.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I mean, if they were going to redo 7, they would have made a huge announcement about it. It wouldn't have just been something little like that. It would have been at E3 or at one of these big game conventions, as opposed to
Where
just...
did they announce it at? Do you know?
I don't even know.
It just looks like a random group of people.
It was over the weekend when they had the Game Awards, a new award show for video games. PlayStation decided to have what they called their PlayStation Experience, and they had a press conference with announcements for the attendees of the Game Awards.
Oh.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so, I mean, that would have been a good place to announce a remake, because now you're rewarding people who came to this video game convention / award show, but, you know, the ultimate troll from the ultimate trolling company at this point.
Yeah, kind of. I didn't actually feel that trolled because I wasn't told in the same way. We were doing an episode, we were getting ready to do an episode, and I was just looking for news, and, like, the headline had that it wasn't actually, you know, an update for a PS4 version. It was just the Steam version, so I was just kind of like, oh, okay. I didn't realize it was this whole big thing, and then I saw other people reacting to it.
Right. I saw it as the Final Fantasy VII comes to PS4, and that's the one that everyone was like, remake. And I just immediately assumed, now that it's going to be downloadable. It's going to be the Steam version. And it was. So, and I'm okay with that. I mean, it would be kind of cool in some ways. I mean, we've talked about this before, but I'm okay with it being the same game.
Yeah, I'm not too heartbroken. I don't have a PlayStation 4, and I've already got 4 copies of Final Fantasy VII floating around, so I don't need to buy one more system for a game I already have. But that, again, with the same thing with Final Fantasy X, it's good for people who don't have a Vita or a computer or a PlayStation 1 or a PlayStation 3. They can finally play Final Fantasy VII 18 years after.
Right. That's what makes it cool, so it's whatever.
Okay, so our last piece of news, or I guess 2 pieces of news, but right now, with me pressing down the space bar, my computer's having problems. The collector's edition for Type 0 is, of course, coming out in March, and it looks pretty beefy. Hold on, guys, I'm having some technical difficulties.
Did you
Caleb,
put spacebar as your push to talk?
I did, so it's like everything's scrolling down.
Why?
I don't know.
God.
Keep busy. 1 second. I'm
Just
going
make
to
it the
change my
middle mouse
button.
button.
I'm going to change my button. Hold on.
Did Joe, were you the only one who read that news, or did Caleb read that also? Because I kind of wanted clarification, because to me it sounded like the Type 0, the 15 demo was only going to be in that collector's edition, and that kind of made me upset.
No, it's not going to only be in the collector's edition, but I'll have more info in a second. Hold on.
Yeah, you keep making him go down the screen with the spacebar.
Sorry, jeez. I'll just tell
Okay,
him.
I got it. It's now mouse button 3. All right,
job.
here's what you will receive with the collector's edition, according to this website whose name has been erased. Oh, PlayStationLifestyle.net. It's going to be priced at $100. It's 100 euros, and then 79. I think that's the pound sign. I'm sorry, I don't know my international money
British
numbers
pounds.
thing. All right, so you're going to receive a golden steelbook showcasing the unique and beautiful artwork of famed illustrator Yoshitaka Amano. It will include a copy of the game, of course. A 200-page Final Fantasy Type 0 manga available for the first time outside of Japan, and this will explore the origins of Class 0. The Composer's Selection soundtrack CD, featuring 15 tracks, specifically chosen by the original soundtrack composer, Takeharu Ishimoto. An 80-page hardcover art book title, Classic 0 842, chronicling the characters, enemies, and world of the Orients with a variety of stunning, high-quality renders and concept art. Cards, 5 life-size replicas of the iconic playing cards used in the game, and then a demo of Final Fantasy 15. But the demo of Final Fantasy 15, there's some trolling with that also from Square Enix. So the demo now is only going to be available with the day 1 editions of the games. So you have to pre-order it, a version with the demo, in order to get the game, or be there at launch in order to have a chance to get the Final Fantasy 15 pre-order. Apparently they only have a certain number that they're going to hand out. How do you guys feel about that? I mean, we all thought that it was going to be pretty much with every edition of Type 0. I felt like that's kind of what we were going for. I mean, assuming it doesn't, like, if it gets a greatest hits edition, I don't think we'd assume that, but, like, you know, the original versions of the game.
To be fair, I think when Crackdown came out, you know, back in 2007, and that had the Halo 3 demo, the multiplayer beta in it, it was only for the initial batch. So I'm wondering if they're going to print out, let's say, 500,000 copies of a Day Zero edition, and then once that's through, you can't get it anymore. But, you know, 500,000 copies is a lot. So it may be open to more people than what they're currently making it sound like. But, you know, it could also be just a pre-order code in a certain set of them, or something that prints out at the register.
Yeah, that's true. It could be that.
Yeah.
God, I think what they're doing is they're making everybody. It's obvious what they're doing. They want you to buy Type 0, and get their their launch day. They just want to sell like a buttload more copies by doing that.
Ends their Q4 nicely for money, if you think about it.
Exactly. That's kind of smart, but it's, you know, for the players, it's kind of like, well, I kind of wanted to buy it 2 weeks after it came out or whatever.
Yeah, well, I was
Doesn't
kind
allow
of
you
planning.
to do that.
Yeah, I was kind of planning on getting it on release anyway, because I want to do a review of the 15 demo. So I'm not too heartbroken about it.
One of us has to get it.
Yeah, it'll probably be me. I'm gonna be super pissed if I don't get the demo, though. If, like, somehow by pre-ordering I don't get to play the demo.
You didn't pre-order in time, so you don't get that edition of the game.
Yeah, so I'll be pre-ordering it immediately. Just
right
to make
now,
sure.
I mean, I can send you a link.
Wait, can we pre-order it already?
You can order it from Square Enix.
You can order the Square. Yeah, we'll just put it down right now for you. Pre-order.
Oh man.
And this whole episode will be you know, setting up your Square Enix account.
Yeah. God, the password. It won't send it to my email.
God, dude, it's a pain in the ass to sign up for Final Fantasy XI. I never want to do it again. That's another reason why I've just kept paying for it without playing it. Because I just don't want to have to sign up again if we have to play 11 after 10.
14 fixed that a little bit with their MOG station, but it still was a pain to have to create a Square Enix account and then a Square Enix MOG station account and then have them be different because you couldn't share the usernames.
I still think it's better than 11's.
The play online was pretty terrible.
Yeah, play online makes you just want to shoot yourself in the head. So Mecha Messiah, I gotta ask you a question. After we get done with Final Fantasy X, we're gonna have a vote to see if, you know, the listeners want us to go to Final Fantasy X-2, Final Fantasy XI, or Final Fantasy XII. Where do you think you would have that vote go?
I would like to see 10-2 done just because it is a continuation of the story in a canon format. And then I would say you go to 12. 11 is not one that you can truly invest. I mean, you could invest time into it, but in order to do it to completion, it would take far too long, and at the time you get to it, there may not be enough of an audience playing the game to even group or party with, so it may be just a complete letdown when you get to it.
Well, we've been looking at some stuff online as far as how much 11 has changed with the updates since, you know, back when it came out, which was like, what, 2003, 2000, somewhere around there?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently they've dwarfed, like, the first, you know, section of the game. So we can actually get through the first story, no expansions. I think they said the estimation was about 100 hours of gameplay time. And you can even solo it, because you can hire other NPCs in the game, and also I guess the Black Mage is just so powerful in 11 that it has the ability, if you want to, you can solo that first part of the game if you want. That's what I've been hearing on their forums, but, you know, no one's playing it currently right now, and so most of those answers were coming from like 2008 or 2009, which I was kind of disappointed in. I want someone who's played through it, you know, recently. To tell me that we can get it done pretty quickly.
I think going through and playing the single-player games in order is probably more obtainable and something that more people will be able to either play along with or even enjoy more listening to, just because they don't have to put in the extra $20 to buy the game than $11 a month to play it and to finish it. So I think going through the single players, doing 10-2, then 12, then the 13 trilogy, and then from there, potentially 15, depending on how long it takes you.
God, hopefully.
Yeah. I kind of side with Messiah on this one.
I know you do. I'm still thinking 11, but...
I don't know. 11 could be fun. I mean, if you and I just kind of set some time aside each day or one big day a week and played it and streamed it, I think it could be a lot of fun.
Didn't you already start... Joe, didn't you already start doing your Let's Play on Final Fantasy XI?
I did. Caleb would have to start in the same area.
Yeah, you could sort of do that again and just have it where... Maybe instead of waiting the 100 hours to review it, maybe after you get to halfway through the story, or if you can figure when that out is, do a review at that time, or even just do more Let's Plays and kind of have it as a subset of your podcast.
That was the original thing, but like the regular Final Fantasy games take up a lot of time, and then it's just like extra on top of that. I'm not the biggest gamer in the world, so me taking time out of the way to do these games is like I don't know. Sometimes it's too much time. Especially with 11 and the Let's Plays with the setting up the video, and I have to be talking over. I mean, I tried doing Let's Plays for 7, and they were super boring, so I took them down.
It's tougher. It's tougher when there's no voice acting, because then you're having to speak the dialogue if you want to get a clear version of it.
That's part of it.
That's probably what I would have done. I would have gone through and made up super corny voices for everyone that says anything and try to keep them straight, even though I can't do that with the 7 people in one fan fiction. I'd try, so I think it'd be kind of fun.
No, to be fair, you could easily get off topic in any of those and forget your character voices, just given the context of the dialogue.
God, yeah. Today was rough. There's so much dialogue in this new fan fiction.
Yeah.
For any of you guys out there that haven't listened to our Final Fantasy or just our fan fiction podcast, go out there. It's called Ultima Final Fantasy Presents Super Sexy Swinging Fan Fiction, in case you're a new listener. Let's move on to our discussion. Caleb Schweiss, you have some questions and stuff, right? You ready? You ready for?
Sure.
Sure. Okay, let's go on to that. All right, I'm gonna take like a 2-second break.
Okay. All right. So I just kind of wanted to just talk with Mecha Messiah. I mean, this is kind of your episode that we've dedicated to you, and
Ooh, I feel special.
Wanna...
I didn't get a tiara or a scepter or anything. I feel so left out.
Yeah. Oh, we will give you a bumper.
We should have got you a cape.
Oh, we haven't sent that bumper sticker right. Shoot.
Yeah.
That's all right. When I get the bumper sticker, I will probably take a picture and post it on the forum.
Nice.
Oh, that'd be nice. I gotta remember to do that.
Yeah, we gotta make our own.
I made it. I just need to go over to the printing place and have them print it out.
Right. So, give us a little more background on you. I mean, I know you talked earlier and said you've been playing them for 15 years. It's been a big part of your life. What
do you want? Just the Final Fantasy, or the whole? I guess do you want the story, the video game story, the story of how Ryan games, or how he got into gaming, or anything like that?
You could touch on how you got into gaming a little.
How my friends stole my Super Nintendo games from me when I wasn't looking, those jerks.
Yeah, what was the game that got you into games?
That's a good question. I'd have to go back to that forum post and think about it.
I thought you said it was 8.
No, that got me into Final Fantasy, but you want to know what I got into video gaming with, and now you're having to go back, 10 more years than that. 8 got me into Final Fantasy, but I didn't discover Final Fantasy right away. My first system was a Super Nintendo, and I played Mario World and Mario Kart and Home Alone 2 and things like that. And I got grounded for renting Mortal Kombat because Mom thought it had too much blood in it.
Yeah, I got in trouble for Grand Theft Auto. I was a little
That's a little
younger,
worse
so...
than Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
At least I think so.
I felt like it taught me good values when I would have my way with a prostitute and then beat her with a bat and take my money back. I mean, it's savings.
What?
He's learning capitalism.
Yes. But no, it's too violent. Fuck.
I can release myself, follow the prostitute, take my money back, and she cannot alert the cops about that. Win-win.
Yeah, and she's totally committing a crime. Hello, vigilante? I think yes.
You're the anti-prostitute. You're like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you watch South Park at all, but you're like the South Park character, the cop who goes undercover and starts engaging in all these sexual activities, and then once the sexual activities are done, then he arrests them after
That's a good
getting
episode.
the money and all that. That's a fantastic episode because it's about other stuff. It's Butters becomes a pimp, so it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that one's
Love that
awesome.
episode.
You've got the most kisses.
So you get a smiley face sticker.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, is this the discussion and we didn't have a break, or is this the break?
It's
No,
the
this is
break,
the
though, I
dis-
think.
Oh,
Or is it
okay.
discussion? I can do both.
Well, no, I was thinking Schweiss was going on with it. I'm like, what?
He
What's
was,
going
but I can
on?
repeat myself. It doesn't
Okay,
matter.
I would
can
like
talk-
you to
can talk-
repeat yourself because
I mean,
now
I've got-
I just said this.
I've got my friend Brian and I do a podcast, so I can talk ad nauseum for hours.
That works.
Oh.
Yeah, the TeamSpeak is making me like uncomfortable, so I have to get used to it.
Alright, so what got you into Final Fantasy?
Okay, we're starting now. Give yourself like 5 seconds of
Start over.
silence.
Yeah, let's
And
take
then
let's take a
Schweiss
breath,
Okay.
whew, and then count to 5, and then we'll go.
All right, let's do that.
Alright, Mr. Messiah, what got you in to the Final Fantasy series?
First off, please call me Mecha. Mr. Messiah is my father. But anyway, no, I mean we can even go back farther than that. I mean we can talk about the first time that I even got into just video games in general. Even before, I mean, I think there was a forum post that we did earlier that somebody posted asking, you bought this system for that or got this system for that. And back when I was 4 and 5, my parents picked up one of those old Socrates learning systems that was made by VTech. This was before Leapfrog and all that was very popular. But I got into gaming, by learning, doing things like states and capitals and drawing. And they were really fun. And it allowed me to play with a computer when I was 4 and 5. But my first real console would have been the Super Nintendo. And I played that at a friend's house. And we were playing Mario World and then Mario Kart just for hours. And my parents held out on me, and the Santa left one when I was younger.
Santa's pretty good at leaving video games.
He is amazing. He knows exactly what I want for the video game system, and I don't even have to talk to him about it. So that was
Do
pretty
the elves
fantastic.
program, do you think?
I think the elves more or less run errands for Santa, and I think that they've probably got a distribution plant outside of the North Pole.
Yeah, they
The
outsourced it.
systems can't get that cold, or the circuit boards are going to freeze.
Oh, that's a good
Oh,
point.
say what you will, it's an outsource.
Okay. Anyway, so I got my first video game system when I was 6, and it came with Super Mario World, Super Mario Kart, Home Alone 2, and so I played those forever. And it's funny that the gifts that you appreciate for Christmas are the ones that you weren't expecting to ever get, but you hold on to those memories for so long. So I played those, and my mom was very strict on video games. And this is back in '92. I was 6, and games like Mortal Kombat were just starting to come out, and I got grounded for renting it because it didn't have the mature rating yet. So I was able to rent it. Mom caught me playing it and grounded me for a month. Took my system away, and I was pretty sheltered when it comes to video games. Every game that I bought had to be kind of previewed by them. The first mature game that I ever was able to purchase, I was 15, believe it or not, and it was Diablo 2.
Oh, nice.
So
I think that might have been mine.
So I got that, and then I was playing Ultima Online at the time, and that was also mature. But I had friends who were playing Ultima Online, and really that had an M rating because you could interact with other people and kill them. So,
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I mean, I've been video gaming for over 20 years, and I'm not a hardcore gamer. I'm not somebody who sits who can commit a lot of time. I used to when I was in high school and in college. I in the effort to not do homework, I would play video games. But no, I do enjoy the social aspects of video gaming. Even playing single player games like Final Fantasy, it's better to have somebody to talk to about it, to share those experiences, especially for the first time. So having a podcast like this, like Ultima Final Fantasy, and having the forums available for us to just kind of communicate is fantastic. Just you won't find too many other groups of gamers that kind of share a passion as heavily as the fans of Final Fantasy do, because we all play the same game, but we all have completely different stories to tell about our experiences.
Right. That's a very good point, and that's kind of what I like about our show. I mean, I like reviewing with Joe, and we both take different things from different games, especially now that they're starting to get more in-depth stories so that we actually have something to take from. I think that's what makes it awesome.
Are you saying number 1, 2, and 3 weren't in depth?
Yes.
I think there wasn't much there.
I think what helps with those first games, at least, you guys were playing different versions of those games. So even if you were playing the same game with very little depth, you still had different experiences, even within playing certain versions, because the person who plays the original NES version is going to have a terrible time playing it now, given that there's so much that we take for granted, such as auto-targeting and
yeah, seriously,
and cut off names and stuff that you're not sure what lit is or whatever, but now they've rebranded it to be Thunder or whatever.
Lit?
Yeah.
Is that really what it used to be?
In the NES version, it was Lit and Lit 2, and you're thinking,
my
what the heck are these? Lit? Am I going to light up a dungeon or something? I don't know.
Yeah, Meteo was my favorite one.
I'm going to lit you up.
The old Meteos.
But yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of different systems, and I have a lot of games. I used to collect games just so I could have them to play them, and my Steam collection is an 80 HD's fantasy, because I've got well over 400 games and maybe only 20 that I actually play. But you see a good deal and you pick it up and in hopes that one day you might play it. But I think the most time I spend with any of my games are Final Fantasy games, and RPGs in general, but just the Final Fantasies. I'll play those old the classics, I should say. Anything before 12, I'll play pretty much on a biannual basis.
Nice.
So, have we talked about how we all got into just video games in general before on our podcast? I don't know. Schweiss?
I don't remember hearing that at all. You kind of, I don't even really remember much of how you got into Final Fantasy.
Our first episode was about Final Fantasy, but it's hard to listen to that one, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Schweiss, how did you get into video games, first of all? Actually, yeah, just how did you get into video games?
Well, a long time ago, I was quite young, and
We're all still quite young.
Well, we are, I guess, yeah. I got a Sega Dreamcast from, I think it was my mom, or my cousin, or somebody brought one over, and they just gave it to me, and it had the original Sonic game on it. So that was my very first experience with a video game.
The original Sonic Dreamcast Sonic Adventure, or the original Sonic as in the Genesis version that was on their Genesis collection?
Wait, did I say it was a Dreamcast?
You did.
Oh, I meant Genesis, sorry.
That's all right. I just wanted clarification, because that, they're both good games. I just, I wanted to make sure.
No, yeah, it was a Sega Genesis, not the Dreamcast. And I had that game, and I believe I had what are those? The ones where you have the whip, Caleb?
Alter Beast.
No, the
the
Symphony of the Night.
Castlevania?
Yeah. It wasn't Symphony of the Night, obviously, but I had a Castlevania game on there, and that game was awesome. So that's really where I first started playing video games. And I think I gave the system back or something like that. I was still super young, so I wasn't really, really into them, but I enjoyed it. And then probably about 13 years ago, I got a PlayStation 1 from my aunt, and the reason why I got it is because I saw the Spyro game. It was like Spyro 2 or something, and it looked like so much fun, and she just gave it to me. And then I got Final Fantasy VII from one of her friends. He just gave me the game because he told me it was amazing, and once I figured out
on his part.
Yeah, well, I think he had already played through it, but it's still a bad decision. But once I figured out that the circle button was attack, I enjoyed it from then on. I could not figure it out, though. The X, I was like, what the hell is this game? What is happening here?
Yeah, it was weird to have that be the command, because they were copying what Nintendo did, as that was the kind of the main input, and every other Final Fantasy was X. So
I think that's still the Japanese way of playing, is having the main action button on that side. At least that's what I heard. That could be total bullshit.
they do that in the Smash Brothers for Wii U, and I had to change the controls because I could not stand having A be the main function key.
Yeah.
Hey, Caleb Craig, are you still here?
Yeah.
All right, you want to tell us about how you got into video games? I have a feeling you've been playing all your life.
Pretty much. Right out of the womb, baby.
God.
Dr. Smackjin gave you a Game Boy and said, "Town, my son, go to town."
Yeah.
Because you were playing Pokemon, of course.
Oh, Pokemon is the best. I got into gaming by playing a Super Nintendo. It was given to me and my brother for Christmas one time, and we just constantly were playing Super Mario World and Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, which was awesome. And we also got Street Fighter 2, which got me into fighting games. And I love fighting games, but nobody ever plays with me. So
Are you too good? Because people who are too good, I don't play with.
Well, I'm not the best, but I'm better than everybody I know.
Except for Dylan. That's not true.
Dylan is my equal.
I don't know. I can make you ring out constantly in Soul Calibur. If
I
you
love
charge
Soul
at me,
Calibur.
I'll
That's
just
my
jump
favorite.
above you. Yeah.
Yeah. Caliber can be broken, but I
Well,
love
here's
it.
the thing. Here's the thing. You buy the new Mortal Kombat, and then we both play it, and we're both pretty much equal at it. And then I go away, and then you play the fuck out of it, and then I come back, and you're like, oh, then it's all boring for you because I can't, play against you that well. So it's not that you play fighting games better. It's that you'll take the time, play them outside of just people coming over, and then you'll beat the shit out of everyone.
I hardly ever play fighting games outside of people coming over, and you always button mash the crap out of Shiva with that jump move.
You know what? Who the fuck is that one that goes completely across the screen and then just kicks you down and there's no way to block it? What's her name?
Sonya Blade.
See? That's what you do. Don't even try that crap.
That's my counter to you, man. And I think we've gotten a little off topic.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's all that off topic. I think fighting games are essential to anybody's history of video games, because I don't play Mortal Kombat at all. I've stayed away from Mortal Kombat, not because my mom grounded me and I'm afraid she's going to do it again, but it's more of I like Soul Calibur because of the weapon-based fighting. I like Dead or Alive because it's counter-based, meaning you can't just button mash to win. You actually have to have skill to play it, and I suck at it, so I'm not trying to say that I'm good at it, but who doesn't enjoy swords and boobs, right?
I don't know, man.
I don't like them at the same time, maybe.
No, of course not. But I mean,
It's a little bit of a
when the
turn
girls
on
from
at the
Dead or
same
Alive
time,
are done, they go play volleyball, and that's a fun game too, and that has no fighting in it.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
that's true.
That's always intense.
All right, so wait, did you say how you got into games, Joe?
Well, my gaming story is pretty short because I didn't really get into games too much. I think the first games that I were exposed to, we had an original NES growing up. We just had one, and so I would play 5 seconds of Zelda, get lost or die, and then I would play Super Mario, the original one, Super Mario Bros., and I'd play Duck Hunt all the time. I think Duck Hunt was my favorite game when I was a little kid.
A wee lad.
A wee lad, yes. And then eventually the NES broke, and then my parents got rid of it, and then video games were banned from my house. And so I'd go over to my friend Justin's house, and we'd play. I realize I'm aging myself a little young here, but we'd play Halo 1 when I was 11, and then
Jesus, I feel old.
yeah, sorry.
It's not that old. That's okay. Halo 1, I was only 15, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, so we used to play Halo 1 and all that other stuff, and eventually I convinced my mom to let me buy a handheld system. So I mowed some lawns for a few weeks, and I got a Game Boy Advance, and I had some really crappy games on there, like the Bionicle game and Samurai Jack. I remember that being super hard for me. just because I wasn't used to playing video games like that. And that's kind of where Final Fantasy comes in, because eventually I was playing those things, and I think my mom kind of just like gave up on the no video games in the house idea, and so she let me get a PlayStation 1. And I didn't have any games for the PlayStation 1 when I bought it, so the first thing I did was go over to my friend Dylan's house, who I'm surprised has never been on this podcast, and I borrowed Final Fantasy VIII, and so that's actually kind of where my video gaming started, was Final Fantasy VIII. I mean, legitimately, I actually played the game, not just for like 5 seconds and then put it down, although I still kind of do that. So that's about it for me. How did you get into Final Fantasy, Mecha Messiah? Did we touch on that?
I think at the beginning I did a little bit, or maybe it was in our off air discussion.
In our off topic. Yeah.
But no, I like any good story. It starts with a girl. I was in yeah, little swinging sexy fan fiction when I was 13.
Oh, gross.
No,
Nasty.
Ugh.
Don't make us cut you off.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. But no, there was a girl in my class. I mean, we were friends already, but she was playing Final Fantasy VIII, which is why that's kind of my favorite, just for the nostalgic reasons of it. But she wanted somebody to discuss and play the game with, and I was the only other person in our friend circle to have a PlayStation 1. So I went ahead and did some chores. Went ahead and picked up the $50 4-disc game, and it was my first multi-disc game that I had owned. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, it's going to take me.
Jeez Louise.
It's going to take me 500 hours to play this game, but we would literally play it together on the phone. So I would call her up, and then like through the summer we would talk, and we would pretend like we were playing it together.
How was that phone bill?
Oh, it was local, so it was okay.
Oh, all right.
Local numbers are awesome. Back when we didn't have cell phones and we only had landlines. But
that's true.
Talk about somebody trying to get through. Ryan, hang up the phone. But anyway.
Or someone trying to get on the internet.
Oh God, internet. What's that?
Dial up, man.
Well, actually, back in '99, I think we had cable modem, so I think we were okay.
Oh, really, man? My family was always behind on technology, so we kept the dial-up for forever.
Yeah, me too. Through middle school.
I was able to convince my parents. I have a very, very overactive silver tongue when it comes to trying to convince people on technology, which is why I spent 7 years working at Best Buy, because I could sell snake oil. But I convinced her that we needed cable way before anybody else did because of the phone, and she goes, I guess that's a good idea. So I think we had cable relatively early. But anyway, off topic. I spent the summer playing Final Fantasy, and we would, spend hours just talking and playing it, and that's kind of why I like playing RPGs in a social setting. I can play a single player game, that's fine, but I would love to have people to discuss it with, which is why like book clubs or RPG clubs are so fascinating to me, because we all will have a different experience in the same game.
Yeah, that is true. Caleb Craig, you want to talk about how you got into Final Fantasy?
The Final Fantasy, huh?
Si, senor.
Well, basically the story starts with me and Caleb arguing over whether Legend of Zelda or Final Fantasy was better. I had never played a Final Fantasy at that point, and he's like, dude, you should play. And so he let me borrow his Final Fantasy 7 and 8, and I played them and really enjoyed them. And that really got me into it, and so I started playing the other ones.
I got a question for you, Caleb Craig. Were you disappointed playing Final Fantasy 7, then going to Final Fantasy 8 and realizing that they had nothing in common? Because when I played 8 and then went to 9, and they were not a continuation of the story, I felt a little cheated for the first 20 or 30 minutes I was playing the game.
Yeah, I kind of did. I was like, what the shit is this? Why is nobody the same?
This isn't the same world. Where'd all the technology go?
I just found out that they were connected in no way.
I think I read a Wikipedia article or watched a video or something that told me about the history of the Final Fantasy series, so that never really was a problem for me. Like, I never touched another game before knowing that.
Yeah, I kind of knew going into them that they weren't going to be connected. So.
That is interesting, though. I don't know how I would have felt if I had not known that ahead of time.
I mean, I didn't even think twice at the time, because I was 13. I shouldn't say I was stupid or too young and naive. But I felt that if you're going to number your games, they should have some continuity besides Biggs and Wedge.
Yeah. That's only some of them.
Or Sid, I guess, would be the more common one.
Yeah, Sid is always there, except for 1 and I think 1, maybe 2. I can't remember.
Well, 1 didn't have any characters in it really at all. I think in the newer versions, I think they maybe went back and probably named a Sid here or there, but in the original they didn't.
Yeah, they did. So, that's pretty cool. I already told you guys how I got into Final Fantasy, and interestingly enough, with your story on Final Fantasy VIII, me and one of my buddies, Jake, did that for Final Fantasy XII on all the rare game and the hunts. We would sit up super late at night on school nights and stuff. I'd steal the phone downstairs at my grandparents' house, and we just go through and just knock out all this stuff.
At the end of the night, where you're like, "You hang up." No, you hang up.
I will admit I did that with her, and we had a really close friendship, and she always really harbored secret feelings for me, which became apparent in high school, but I never shared those same back, so it was kind of awkward. But it definitely, looking back at it, we had those, "You hang up." No, you hang up. I'm still playing. Well, I'm still playing too, so you hang up. And it was kind of awkward.
I just want to see two dudes doing that.
Ooh, yeah. It would be kind of... I wasn't thinking of it that way, but yeah.
Yeah, no comment on that.
Pleading the fifth.
Because it happened.
It's a good method.
Schweiss, don't you have something for us? Like a quiz of some kind?
Oh, I do believe I have decided to rip off Union directly. So what I'm going to do...
So is this going to be a... Okay, Schweiss, explain it.
What I'm thinking of doing is... I've got 7 questions here that only true Final Fantasy fans, and maybe some semi-true Final Fantasy fans, should be able to answer. And I'm kind of thinking we'll have Mecha Messiah answer first, and if he answers incorrectly, then Joe can steal it, and whoever gets the most is better, I guess.
We didn't know Caleb Craig was going to be here, or else I guess we'd have more questions. Actually, I say we, but I didn't prepare any of these questions, so I have no idea what Schweiss is going to say.
Yeah, so that's the only way I figured it could be fair.
Oh man, I don't know. My knowledge before 6 is pretty limited to your podcast, and then playing it years ago.
Oh, that's okay. Most of them are actually 6 and up, so you're good.
Woo!
Alright, so let's do this. Question 1. In the Temple of the Ancients from Final Fantasy VII, what time was incorrectly listed on the Roman numeral clock?
Oh, fuck you, Schweiss.
He goes first.
It is a difficult one.
Let's all agree not to use Google.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I'm trying to even remember that part of the game. I don't know. I got nothing. What time was incorrect on the Roman numeral?
Yeah, it was 1 through 12, like a clock.
Yeah, I think it was... I'm going to say 4.
Correct.
Ah!
You're lucky.
It was luck. It was process of elimination because really your options are 4, 6, 9, and 11.
Yeah, because of the extra I.
Hey, let's go back and forth and make it a game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's Joe's
Woo,
turn.
1 point to Ryan. Right. Yay!
Yeah,
Good job,
Ryan won, Joe nothing.
Right at the beginning, you can't say that shit.
Well, it's true. All right, so
Ryan won, Joe coming up next.
Yeah. All right, so question 2. How do you obtain the ultimate sword in Final Fantasy VI, Joe?
Shit. I don't think I did that. Crap. Caleb, you knew this was happening, didn't you? Pass. I can't
Possibly.
answer it.
All right. Ryan?
Oh man, Final Fantasy VI is like my worst one. Are you talking? You said ultimate sword. Are you talking like ultimate weapon, or are you talking?
What's the name of the sword, Schweiss?
Or does that give it away if it's like ultimate weapon? Because or like the, I mean, I guess that's. I don't know.
You don't know? That's okay.
Well, I mean, I shouldn't say I don't know. I guess if you're talking like what was called Atma, I think maybe in the PlayStation version or something. I don't know the name of the cave, but it was in a cave somewhere.
Can you guys still hear me okay?
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
hear you just fine.
Oh, okay, I just messed with something on accident. Alright, so it's you get the ultimate weapon when you choose to get the Ragnarok, the sword, over the spell Ultima.
Oh!
But
Shit!
I was hoping you would say that, Joe, because that would be incorrect. You actually have to bet the sword that's called Illumina. That's what you have to bet the Ragnarok to get the other sword in the Colosseum, and it's, the Colosseum's a 1v1 fight. And you go up against...
I remember you have to do this now.
Yeah, you go up against the head honcho at the Colosseum, I guess, and you fight him when you bet that sword, and you get the ultimate sword. And it's sick.
So it's still Mecha Messiah 1, Joe 0.
Yep. Alright, so Mecha Messiah. Which Final Fantasy was the first to include series favorite and Star Wars ripoff, Biggs and Wedge?
I'm gonna have to say 6 on that one.
Correct. It did appear in Final Fantasy VI first, but they also were the default names for the thief classes in Final Fantasy I, Dawn of Souls. So that one was kind of risky for that. Alright, Joe, here's a pretty easy one.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, you're doing well.
I would have guessed like 3. Been totally
I just know that one because we were literally just talking about that 5 minutes ago, and I thought it was fresh in my head.
I tried to keep it short, but I failed, apparently. Alright, Joe, what's the name of Vaughn's brother whom we see die, spoiler alert, at the beginning of Final Fantasy XII?
Oh, shoot. Dude, I thought I was going to do better on your quiz than this. Vaughn's brother.
It's actually kind of sad.
It's not Caleb Craig, do you know the answer?
I do.
He did.
You really do know the answer?
He's barely played the game, too. God. Sorry, Joe, I don't mean to be rude.
Vaughn's brother... Oh, man, dude, I just totally do not remember. He's the one that dies right at the beginning?
Yeah.
Oh, God. It's not Captain Bosch.
No.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm gonna have to pass. I don't know.
Alright, Mecha?
No, I think I've probably played as much or as little as Caleb Craig on this game. So I'm gonna defer as well to Caleb Craig on this one.
His name was Rex.
Oh!
The worst dog name
Rex
on the
damn near
planet.
killed him. Oh wait.
God damn it, dude.
Yeah.
Alright, so it's Mecha Messiah 1, Joe 0
2.
still?
Don't shortchange me some points there, boy.
Is it 2? Is it 2?
It is.
Yeah,
too.
I got the
sorry.
Wedge Biggs question also.
Oh yeah, you're
son.
right. Sorry. Alright,
Alright,
so let's keep
so
going.
I guess it's Mecha's turn again. What is Nobuo Uematsu's most commercially successful song?
You asshole.
I'm sorry.
Oh man, I don't commercially successful. What does that even mean? Like sold the most singles? Sold the most?
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Oh man.
What would you think would be the most successful one?
Oh man, I would think it'd be Eyes on Me just because I know you hate that song with a fiery passion.
You are correct, my son.
You asshole! That wasn't like a. I think it's a. He didn't say that was the answer, but now it counts.
Yeah, Caleb, way to ruin it.
Oh, he totally was gonna say that's what it was.
Were you gonna say
Probably.
that, Mecha Messiah?
Yeah, that was my answer. Was Eyes on Me.
He wasn't gonna do Souk Dene or whatever.
Sudeki Dene or whatever. Isn't it
whatever
lovely?
It's called.
Well,
Alright.
if you think about it, he's only had 3, voiced songs, and Melodies of Life. I would think that Melodies of Life would be more commercially successful. They had the damn Coca-Cola commercials with it in the background.
Did he did the music for 10-2, didn't he? Or am I wrong?
He did not.
Oh, he did not. Okay, so those songs in 10-2 were not his? No one knows. Okay.
I can, Google is your friend. We can check quickly while you ask the question.
Okay, Schweiss, what's the question for me?
All right, how many times does the party fight Seymour in Final Fantasy X?
4. 4 times.
Correct.
Yes!
Good job, Joe.
I got a point. I know that because I had to replay that so many, 2 of those fights were so annoying, and then the other 2 I was scared to death, so I remember them.
Yeah, they were pretty rough.
Yeah, he did not do 10-2, so we don't have to blame him for those crappy songs.
What can I do for you? Taking a stance against 10-2, huh? I'm sure we're going to get flack for that. Once we get there, they're going to be like, I love that intro song.
The intro song is, pop music.
I've gotten so much flack for hating Eyes on Me, also.
I gave you flack for that, and that's just because I misinterpreted the song, and it makes more sense when you change the words.
When you actually see the lyrics, because they're bad.
When you see the lyrics, you want to rip your eyes out. In my head, when it was we never sang our songs instead of whenever sang our songs, it makes a lot more sense. The whole song changes.
It does.
Yeah, everybody's going to have a nice little treat on the Final Fantasy VIII episode. I can't really say anything more than that, but trust me, it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming fast.
All right, so, Mecha, last question.
Ooh.
What is your reward for winning the Blitzball Championship in Final Fantasy X? And I'm talking about the one where you go to the big tournament and all the teams are met together and the announcers degrade Waka's team and you get to go in there. And it's like 1,000,000 times harder than normal Blitzball.
I don't even know. No, are you talking the one that's required for playthrough?
Yes.
Like the tournament? God, I feel like it was something that wasn't worth the gameplay.
This is a ridiculous question.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel it was a sphere of a sort, but I don't know. I'm gonna pass. I don't know. I'll pass. I'll let you answer that one, Joe.
I don't think I can answer that. I'm guessing a Phoenix Down.
Okay.
Phoenix Down. That's my final answer.
Okay, well, you were close, Mecha Messiah. You do get a strength sphere, and Waka is holding a trophy instead of the Blitzball after the tournament, and there's some changed NPC dialogue, but that's it.
It's not worth it. I never did it because it was a pain in the ass.
It is sick. Okay,
so
it's not worth it.
I had a coworker who, wished day and night that they would release just a standalone Blitzball game, because Square would always consider doing that, but it was, I can't play Blitzball. I can't even look at it. I just lose the game as quick as I can.
That is my least favorite part of that game, is when you're forced to play Blitzball beyond your will.
It's not too bad once you get outside of that tournament. It's a lot easier. Plus, when you start recruiting people, you can recruit Brother. It's like Yuna's cousin and Riku's brother. He's sick. With him, you basically destroy everything.
I'll give it this. At least with 10, there's not a huge difficulty, steep difficulty curve when you get to that point of the game. But when Final Fantasy IX forces you to play Tetramaster and you haven't touched the damn cards the whole time you've played the game, you're kind of worthless in that area. You get some pretty good stuff for beating that tournament.
I don't remember that part of the game. Of course, it's been so long since I played 9. I don't remember having to be forced to play the cards, but...
Yeah, when you get to Trino, that's the big ritzy town. There's an actual tournament that you have to play. At least,
you have to be a part of.
Yeah, and you can lose the first round and that's it. But if you go ahead and play it, I think you get some pretty neat items. I'm not sure.
When we're to Final Fantasy IX. Okay, so I think we're about done with our discussion. Mecha Messiah, do you have time to join us for a tactic?
I do. I've got time for tactics up and down.
All right, man. This is your tactics.
Ooh, so I can explain it better than I type it.
All right, so we're going to take a 5-second break, and let's get going, okay?
All right.
I'm just going to grab some coffee. All right, so let's get to it. I don't know. I'm gonna mess with this transition later. Break time.
All right, so do you play much PC, Mecha Messiah?
I do. I try. I've got, most of the systems, but I spend, when I'm not playing the Final Fantasies on my Vita because I can do that at work. I'm on the computer with all the other games that I have, with the exception of a few console exclusives.
Nice. Have you ever played Civilization?
I do. I've got Civ 3, 4, and 5 on my Steam account.
We should play Civ 5.
We should. I'm terrible, and you would be able to kick my ass, and I'd still have a joyous time.
Yeah, well, you probably could be Joe.
I'll be honest, my first introduction to Civilization, actually playing Civilization, was Civ Revolution, which is a very, watered down, version of Civilization, but it was fun, and I could, whomp anybody on it because there was no real tactics involved in it other than the basics.
Right. Yeah, I love strategy games, I found. Like that, SimCity, anything like that, I truly enjoy. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm willing to exploit these Final Fantasy games, is because it gives me kind of a strategic edge.
It does, especially when you're playing against nobody.
Yeah, I mean...
Or at the time, I guess you're fighting the clock, I suppose.
Yeah. I don't know, though, and 8 has taken me forever. I'm like 17 hours, and I'm still on disc 2. I don't understand it. I don't know where the time's gone.
Okay, I think I have all the expansions for Civ 5, too. I've got Gods and Kings and Brave New World, so...
Nice.
I told you, I'm ADHD gets the better of me. Yeah, there was a Steam sale on it. It was like 50% off, and it's like, I gotta buy that, so...
Good. We all have the DLCs. So, being able to play with all of them is better.
Steam is the death of me, because I'm looking through this, because I just pulled up my list to get to see if I had the expansions, and I'm looking at these games, and 80% of them I've never heard of before, and I don't know why I have them. And then I think back to, I bet you that was a Humble Bundle, or, I bet you that was part of a collection that I purchased for like $4.
Yeah, what is your Steam name, actually? I'm gonna add you right now.
It's, right now it is Mecha Messiah. If you don't put a space in it, you should find it.
Pippin.
You're already on there. Schweistica, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
see
already
you
on your
now.
list. Yeah, I got Pippin as my picture.
Sweet. It's
We
good
played.
Hobbit.
We were playing Dota 2, and we all picked Hobbit characters for our picture. So I just left it.
Nice. Well, sweet. We're definitely gonna have to play some Civ 5, and that's one of the big reasons why I wanted to create this TeamSpeak channel. That, and obviously for this episode and future episodes
And
of
to
this
get off of Adam's
caliber.
TeamSpeak.
And to get off of my friend that he's known over the internet for like 7 years, but never actually met's channel, since that would be kind of iffy to be doing, podcast stuff on. Giving out info.
Yeah. Stretching the favor a little too far.
All right,
Yeah.
are we ready to go? We're just gonna do your general Final Fantasy VIII thing. I mean, it was so in depth. It's kind of nice that you're here.
Yeah, let me pull it up real quick so I can remember
Okay,
what
that's
I wrote.
fine. Just let me know when you're ready. I'm gonna sip away. Schweiss, was the coffee a little bit burnt?
I don't think so. Just tastes like Folgers to me.
The best part of waking up, I tell you.
The best part of 9 o'clock.
Does anybody else watch Scrubs? Because all I can think about when that jingle comes on is when they, one of the doctors, Elliot, Dr. Reed, her boyfriend hires like a barbershop quartet to sing a song for her, and all they do are renditions of jingles. So it's the best part of waking up is Elliot in your cup. And
I don't
that's
remember
all I
that
can think of
episode,
now.
but me and Caleb Craig
I
watched
don't
it
remember
together,
that
the
either.
whole thing.
It's season 3 and it's Ted's band. Oh, I'm ready.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember
you ready?
that.
Okay,
Yeah,
give
'cause
yourself...
then they go, I'm in, and...
Sorry. Give yourself about 5 seconds and then go ahead. So, starting now.
Okay. All right. So this tactic actually is one that I posted on the forum because with Joe and Caleb and anybody else who's going through playing Final Fantasy VIII, this is something that's helped me immensely the second playthrough that I had, because on the first playthrough I had no idea about these two little hotspots, and going back and playing it now, especially if you're looking to get to level 100 for either the extra challenge for it or completionist or whatever your reason would be. The islands closest to heaven, the island closest to hell, which I guess ironically they're east and west instead of north and south, but they are
weird.
Little, and they don't look anything like heaven or hell. But it's just a very unique way that the creators of the game put kind of a little power leveling into this vast area, and I mean you can access it as early as when you get the Ragnarok, so disc 3. But you can go to the forum and read it. I'm not gonna go through and kind of read verbatim what I put on there, but essentially what you need to do is get yourself the Ragnarok. You need to get Diablos and equip Encounter None if you don't want to encounter any enemies. And then you can also get, I think it's Siren. I didn't put this in there, but Siren
I think it is Siren's ability.
Siren has the hidden save point, hidden save point, draw point. You do need that also, but you equip those two things and go to the island closest to heaven and or hell, and run around. What I did is I just ran around like a madman and clicked on every single inch of terrain that I could find to get the to get all the draw points. And
from what I can remember, I think all the draw points are kind of on the edge of both of the islands, so you can just kind of circle around. But I might not be right.
Yeah,
on that.
I think there may be one or two in the middle, but they're not crucial at all. But yeah, I mean that's where I filled up on Ultima and Holy and Full Life, because those are a little bit rare in certain areas.
Those are rare, but it's not rare there, which is nice. I think everybody does that when they do their playthrough, and they got to go online, get a map of where to draw this stuff at. It is really nice.
I back when I started doing that, 15 years ago or 10 years ago, the internet wasn't populated with awesome maps like they are now. So I just ran around like a chicken with my head cut off and drew every little inch that I could. And I also remember, I guess, off tangent a bit, when I first started playing Final Fantasy VIII, like everybody else who didn't know how to junction magic, I junctioned my magic and then used it anyway because I was like, why not? I've got it. And then I'd get to the final fight, and why is my strength halved? Oh, I used Ultima in a battle a lot. But, I mean, these are two little nice islands that you can use to just level up your junctions if you're looking to just use magic for status and element and strength junctioning. And then the other trick on those two islands, if you want a power level, is to not equip Encounter None. Make sure that Quistis has Degenerator, and you can just cast Aura on her and let her fly with her Limit Break. Or you can test your luck and then just use Odin, and he can slice them up. And if you don't get Odin, you'll know within the first second of the battle. You can just run and try again.
That's good. You got anything else for Final Fantasy VIII you wish to share?
Don't mind the music. I like the music. Don't hate on Eyes on Me too much.
We're going to. I'm sorry.
I know you will.
It's what's going to happen.
I'll be
on
okay.
The Final Fantasy VIII episode.
I'll be okay. I've aired my grievances already, and I know it gets a lot of flack because it is such a drastic change from what people regarded with Final Fantasy VII being the best. But if you look at the time in 1999 when that game came out, and I know everybody's a critic, but if you look at reviews from the time, it was getting better reviews than Final Fantasy VIII, or than Final Fantasy VII, excuse me, and it's because it was, a drastic change from that game with trying a bunch of new things, and they did them well. It's just not the norm, and it's the same thing with Final Fantasy 12 and 13. I mean, I would expect that in a couple years that we'll look back at Final Fantasy 13 with those rose-tinted glasses and say, "Yeah, it was a good game."
At some point, there's going to be a lot of people that started on 13. I mean, it was such a big release, and it was for new gen. I believe there are a lot of people that start on 13. Like, they don't know anything about Final Fantasy, but like those Xbox players probably got Final Fantasy 13, and that's going to be where they're going to start. So they're going to love 13.
And I mean, there's a drastic change in the way that the game is played. I mean, we're just so used to active time battle and turn-based attacking that the new action-oriented Kingdom Hearts-esque battle system that these have, it's foreign to a Final Fantasy player. We like what's rooted in history with turn-based attack and active time bars and whatnot. But at its core, we'll go back and we'll appreciate Final Fantasy 13 more. Just like I think
Final 12
Fantasy
is being more appreciated also with time, because I think 12 also received pretty much the same flack 13 did. Of course, I still give the 12 more flack than I do 13, but that's a personal preference. That's a really good point. We're going to move on to our question segment right now, so let's get to it, shall we, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I don't think we need to take a break on this one. Do you guys need it?
No, I'm
Nope.
good.
Okay. So, Schweiss, we got the 5 questions pulled up. You got them?
It's a busy question week.
It's not that busy. We've had some question weeks where it's like 11. Schweiss, do you have them up?
Yep.
Okay,
Right.
so what order should we do these?
I'm just going to do the first one.
OMG?
Yes. All right, so we have question
All right,
1.
give it some silence, man. You gotta do that because I gotta transition it when I do the post editing. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody feel free to cut in. This will be a question for all of us. Okay. Go ahead and go.
All right, so first up in questions is from our forums, which is awesome because it's a lot easier to get on these than Twitter, from Womble619, and he says, OMG, Square Enix, the ultimate trolls. And it's from December 9th, and he says, I am so damn mad. As you probably know, I am gagging for an FF7 remake, and Square has just completely shitty and purposely, yes, purposely, trolled fans. See the video here. We've got the release video. What are your guys' reactions to this? I would really love a section in the next podcast where you discuss this twist of the knife in fans' sides.
I feel like we already did.
We did, but we'll touch on it again. They know so many people want FF7 remake, and this is just as bad as the time, if not worse, when they did a clip of FF7, the very intro on PS3, and told everyone it was a demo, which was a little sick of him, I will admit.
It was only
Really
a
pissed
demo.
off, especially when he says, we all know fans want FF7 on the PS4. Yes, but you know damn fucking well we didn't mean a port.
I'm gonna take this one first. So yeah, we did talk about it earlier. And I know that when the PlayStation was announced in 05 and they did that tech demo video, that was people's first big, big tease for a Final Fantasy VII remake. But on PlayStation 2, when that was released, in 2000, they did a tech demo of Final Fantasy VIII. And they did the scene from the dancing scene with Renoa and Squall, and that was kind of the same type of tease. Now they introduced it as it said Final Fantasy tech demo, so I think it was the media more kind of blowing it out of proportion, thinking that we were going to get that Final Fantasy VII that would be in conjunction with Advent Children. But I mean, the way that it was presented at the press conference was kind of the twist of the knife, because he came out on stage and said that it was something that fans have been wanting, and then it ended up just being Final Fantasy on PlayStation 4, which I'll be honest, I don't think any fan wanted Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation 4 in its current form. I think they just wanted a remake. So I do understand where Mumble's coming from on that.
I don't know. Caleb Craig, what do you feel?
I feel like nobody should have expected it to be a remake, like I've said on the forums. Mostly because it would have been a bigger announcement. They would have been teasing it for months beforehand. Just stuff like that. And then I don't think fans really know that they don't want a Final Fantasy VII remake, because it's going to end up being either like a graphic overhaul which would be nice, but it's not exactly the remake they wanted. And if they remake it, they're going to do something like they did with 3 and 4, where they change stuff, they add more story, they just add a bunch of stuff that nobody wants. And then
more Kate Sith, because I would love more Kate Sith. He's my favorite character.
Hate Kate Sith, but anyway, if they'll just add more stuff that nobody really wants.
Be nice.
It's still though, just add stuff that nobody really wants, and then they'll get mad because it's not the same.
I think the thing that would bug me the most would be like cutscenes with voice acting that you can't like turn off or something like that.
They would probably add that.
See, that's the thing that kind of bugs me. It's just like they'll probably post it up and make it look and sound like Advent Children, and I'm not really for that too much.
You don't want more dilly dally shilly shally?
I don't want more dilly dally shilly shally.
Part of the movie.
Oh, it's my favorite part. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm a mistake.
I must listen to that podcast again because I got a completely different tone out of that.
Yeah.
Maybe that was just me because that was Rachel Lee Cook's voice, and I'm a huge fan of her.
Yeah. She does have like the perfect voice for Tifa, but that line was just so retarded that
yeah.
It does make no sense.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I kind of agree with Caleb. I think they would add stuff that we feel like we want, but we really don't want. And I think the game's kind of fine how it is. If they did a graphical overhaul of the game, I think it'd be fine. But putting in voice acting would kind of be treading on fans, sacred ground. And I wasn't really expecting this game to be this way. Anyway, I didn't think they were going to remaster it. So, yeah, they're a little trollish, but I wasn't expecting it. So
I think we're in the mind. I think a lot of people kind of stand with Womble on this one.
That's what it seems like.
And I wish I could. I wish I could give words of, hope or words of agreement, but I just simply don't.
Verbal hugs are the best we can do at this moment. Yes. So we feel for you, but don't expect anything in the next 15 years, I think.
Oh my god, maybe like the 50th anniversary. How far off is that?
The 2047? Not too far off, right?
Yeah, we got time.
Not too bad.
We can do that.
I don't know. When's the 25th anniversary? I can't do math in my head that quickly.
2022.
See, maybe then. That would make sense.
Probably.
But even still, that would be, the PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 6? And by that time, we would be back to, like, the Sega CD, and it'd be just live-action based. It'd be acting instead of computer graphics.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Caleb, Craig, you played the remake version of 4. Did you ever play the original 2D one?
Yeah, that was actually my first playthrough, was on the PS2.
And did playing the same game with voice acting, how did that affect the game for you?
I didn't really care for the voice acting, but for 4's remake, I really didn't mind most of the stuff. Like, the added story kind of helped, since they didn't really add much to the story, especially in the earlier versions of 4, so I guess that was okay. But
you mean like the background information on not Zandy, but whatever his name is?
Golbez.
Golbez, yeah.
Yeah, that was a little better.
It's always fucking Zandy. That's like the first name that pops into my head for any bad guy in the 2D Final Fantasy games, except for
Zandy.
Zandy. It's always Zandy. And I know it's not. It's Golbez.
Yeah, the voice acting wasn't that great. I mean, I guess they tried their best, but even then, like, nobody really wants it.
Well, some people do.
Oh, well, they're wrong.
They're wrong. They don't actually want it. I don't know. Mecha Messiah, you okay with voice acting? And how do you feel about that?
I think that voice acting after the fact is not as good. I think that the dialogue that's written is written differently than the dialogue that's spoken. So going back and reading this dialogue in a I guess for voiceover it loses some of the appeal, because it's like when you're writing a script for a movie. You're writing different words than what you would be reading. So I think that doing it after the game's been released is not good. And I could see that with Final Fantasy VII. there are fan videos out there of people who did voiceover, like
God, I've seen those.
voiceover mods or something, and they're just terrible. And part of it is because you're trying too hard, or you're just making fun of it. But dialogue that's written in the games for that sense, I leave it written. You know, you don't need to voice the main characters if they weren't intended to be voiced.
You're kind of with just the graphical overhaul of it.
Even that, I don't know. I feel like part of me is a purist and doesn't want the graphical overhaul.
Yes.
The only version of Final Fantasy IV that I have played was the PSP version, which I got on my Vita. I had the Chronicles version on my PlayStation, but I had a friend steal that game too. I've got great friends apparently. But I played the complete collection, which had the updated 2D sprites, and that was awesome. That was really cool. But then you look at like the 3 and the 4 on the 3DS, and they just look terrible comparatively to what they are. So
little peg legs.
And that's kind of a forum discussion now too. Is we're talking about the iOS versions a little bit and how they updated those sprites, and they look okay. I mean, but there are purists who want everything to just be the way it was, and it's kind of ironic that the same purists that want these games to stay the way they are the ones probably most clamoring for a remake of Final Fantasy VII. So
no, I feel like I'm like a very elite sort of purist when it comes to these games. I don't think they really need to go back and do anything. And going with what you said earlier about they should leave it in the form.
Twice put your mic closer to your face.
Oh, sorry. So going back to what you said earlier about they should leave it in the original form, I think a lot of that is because over the years, through playing these games numerous times, we've developed the characters, how we want, how we feel they should sound, and how they should act. And then when you throw in voice acting, you basically throw all of that out the window. All of what you thought the character was is now their weird new voice.
Well, yeah, it's like that with, it's this exact same thing that happens with books to movies. You know, you get these ideas of characters in your head, and then you go see the movie, and you're thinking, man, I didn't think that Hermione looked like that, or I didn't think that.
I'm glad she does.
Well, yeah, that was a bad example.
I hope you're not talking about 12-year-old Hermione.
No.
I was young.
12-year-old Hermione grew up into a very attractive 20-year-old Hermione.
That's true.
But you read these books and you get these ideas of what a character looks like, and especially with The Lord of the Rings and taking so many different twists with that, especially The Hobbit. I guess the Hobbit movies more appropriately with all the different dwarves that it ruins it. I didn't think he looked like that, or I didn't think he looked like that. And it's the same thing with voices. They would never sound like that in my game. They'd sound like this. So I do see your point on that one, Caleb.
All right, so our next question is, how do you feel about the announcement of the FF10 and FF2 on PS4? Once again, a subject we already touched upon. This is from Void on our forum, not on Twitter, but our forum. Thank you for joining the the forum, Void. He says, it's interesting that Square Enix keeps doing so many ports. It's probably a good thing that they're making games available to so many people, but I wish they would give some benefits to early adopters. For those of us who already purchased Final Fantasy X and X-2 remaster on Vita or PS3, this is kind of annoying, and I completely agree with you, Void. I actually bought the remaster for both systems because I wanted it handheld, but I also wanted access to the best version of the game on PS3. Now, if I want the best version, I have to buy the game again. I really wish they would have some kind of discounted upgrade systems for their fans who have already purchased the game, but knowing Square Enix, that won't happen. What are your reactions to the announcement? I'm certainly up for, hey, use whatever your game serial, whatever, in order to put that in, kind of, and get the game for PS4. I mean, how do you guys feel about that? Do you think they should be justified in buying another version of the game for Square Enix? Sorry, that was a badly worded question.
Caleb, you mentioned that earlier. You said that that really the people who are going to buy this PlayStation 4 version are just going to be the people who missed it the first time around, who don't have a Vita or a PlayStation 3. So I don't think that there will be some sort of an upgrade option. Although, to be fair, they did do an upgrade option for Final Fantasy XIV, where if you bought the PlayStation 3 version, you could upgrade to the PlayStation 4, but you lost the ability to play your PlayStation 3 copy. So you had to pick one or the other. So I could maybe see them doing that as a kind of a fan loyalty scenario. The issue with that is with Final Fantasy XIV, you have to register your game, so you can't just take one off the street and you'd say, hey, here's my upgrade. So I don't know how they would do that with Final Fantasy 10 or 10-2 because there's no registration
That's
function.
true. The logistics are difficult, and we're just hoping that they weren't planning this from the beginning.
Right. Well, I mean, you got to take into consideration they are culturally different than us, and we as Americans, a lot of times we do want the best and the brightest of everything possible, and I don't think it might not be that way over there.
I'm not sure about that.
I don't know. I'm not sure either.
You make a lot of judgment calls there, Schweiss.
Well, no, I'm saying that because of that, a lot of people feel pressured to buy it on PS4, and I'm not going to. I don't need to have the best version of Final Fantasy X. I have the PlayStation 2 version, and
it's still going to be I'm sure it's going to be the same HD version. It's just going to be PS4.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's even your version, your FXX, and
it'll still be 1080p or whatever.
Yeah,
I think at the very most they're going to anti-alias it again one more time just to smooth it out because it still had that signature PlayStation jaggy to it, but it's not a $50 upgrade. And I see Void's point where it would be very nice of them to do even just a discounted upgrade where you could trade it. And maybe GameStop will do something like that. They'll sometimes, you can trade it in for a guaranteed, X amount of money if you want to upgrade it to this game. So, maybe GameStop will do something to help the consumer. They don't do too many of them, but
no.
they might just to try to drive traffic into the store because, again, everybody's a business and
Right.
they're looking for the best way to sell more games. So, hey, buy a $50 game, we'll give you $20 for your PlayStation 3 version and $15 for your Vita version or something.
That would be nice, but something tells me that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's the optimist in me, not the realist.
Optimist. Okay, we got another question. Caleb, you want to read it?
Yeah, I'll read this one.
All right.
It's from Amerline1, and he says, what's that?
I said Black Mage.
Oh, yes. What do you want more of and less of in Final Fantasy? Well, as the title says, what do you want more of and less of in Final Fantasy? I heard this question on FF Union, and would love to get both of the greatest podcast hosts to take this on, as well as my forum brethren. I would like to see more darker stories, tragic characters, well-thought-out romances, really likable characters. For instance, most of the cast of 9 was likable, he says. I would like to see less of unlikable characters, most of the 13 cast, except for Saz. One-sided romance, Sarah and Snow, worst FF romance, as well as Cloud and Eris. Less confined worlds, more to explore. What do you think, Mecha Messiah? What do you want more of and less of in Final Fantasy?
I was actually going to post on this, but it was going to be almost in line with what Black Mage had said. I think I don't know about darker stories. I think what part of the appeal of the Final Fantasy series was it was very lighthearted. I think when they try to go dark, it gets too cheesy. 13 was supposed to be a darker story, and it ended up just being a laugh. But like the whimsical stories like 9 and to a lesser extent 8. I mean 7 I guess is dark-ish, but darker I could do without. Tragic characters I'm confused about. I'm not sure if they mean like, characters that have tragic backstories or that tragedy happens to them. It's Squall, yeah.
Maybe,
Sis?
Man.
Sis, where are you?
Oh god, that was so weird.
That is a weird part of the game. That whole after disc 1 is just a mind blow.
Don't you love how it's raining at the same... It's always raining when someone has like a tragic childhood,
Or a tragic anything. It's a cliche. Think of Final Fantasy 9 when Freya goes back to town and the place is just underwater when you fight Kuja for the first time.
Exactly.
Is Kuja a woman or is it a man?
Kuja's a man like Zidane.
Zidane's a man?
What?
I don't know. Kuja...
Hold on. Stay on topic. We'll go back to that.
Okay.
Well thought out romances, I agree with. I mean, but I'm a huge storyist, so I wrote my college thesis on video games as art and using it to compare like literature as a way that it can achieve the means to become a legitimate art form. So I do agree that well thought out romances and stories need to be a huge part of Final Fantasy. Likeable characters that would go hand in hand with the thought out story and the tragedy of the characters.
So, did you see Roger Ebert talk about how he didn't feel like video games were art?
I did, and then I loved the outpour of thousands of emails and tweets to him about how it could be, and he rescinded a little bit. He never fully
did.
said that it was.
He said
art
a
form.
lot of people like recommended Shadow of the Colossus, and then he said, you know what, I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah, and
You
I
can
think
see it all on his blog.
yeah, rest in peace, Roger Ebert.
Yes.
But yeah, unlikable characters. I think it's funny that he says that most of the cast except for Saz was unlikable, and I found him the least tolerable in my opinion.
Really, I found Sarah. Yeah,
Well,
Vanille.
Vanille and Hope for me.
Vanille turned on the Japanese, and it's a lot more tolerable. But it's just, her voice is what really kills it. One-sided romances, I do agree that's part of the thought-out romance that, hand in hand. Confined worlds, I don't think we're gonna. I think that every world is confined. I mean, the illusion of open world.
Yes.
We have the illusion of open world because you can go anywhere, but you can't do anything anywhere. You go to a place that you're not supposed to be to yet, everything's locked. Oh,
That's true, and then there'll be
the
just like
shopkeeper's
one
gone
guy
for the
going,
week. Come
saying
back,
some one-liner.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Oh,
dude, I could kill you and get behind there. I know what's in there,
Exactly.
but you can't. Yeah, I see you.
So no, I do agree that I mean, we could all be armchair game designers and create the best Final Fantasy, but it would take a lot of time and a lot of effort for them to continue on these. But 15 looks to be a little bit more lighthearted, so I don't know if Darker Story is going to be what he's looking for in 15.
It's got dark design. I'm not sure about the story. Yeah.
No
I
real
felt
romance
6
either, except for the princess and the prince, I guess.
Right, I
and
felt
that's-
6 had a dark story, and it was an excellent game. Same with 7.
I do feel like I think 6 and 7 both have dark stories, and they're both excellent games.
I think 7 balances well the dark and the light. 6
I
is
agree.
definitely more of a downer for most of it.
Final Fantasy Tactics is definitely a downer.
You're still the only one who's played that for very long.
Which I find that funny, seeing that we were just talking about Civ off camera or off microphone, and I mean they're both strategy games of certain types.
Yeah.
Yeah, Caleb Craig, what would you like to see more and less of in Final Fantasy?
Well, I'm honestly for less annoying characters, like no more characters like Riku and
Hey, she's my favorite.
those
for real. Shut
no,
up.
okay. So no, I don't want any more like child sex idols coming out of fucking Final Fantasy, okay? And then I also want better stories. Because Final Fantasy Tactics is my favorite Final Fantasy, and it has the best story, I think. Anyway, so
So you just want less annoying characters and more.
I want more
stories.
focus on story. Because,
Okay, go ahead.
well, with like Final Fantasy Tactics, it had like one of the best stories I've ever seen come out of a Final Fantasy, and then its sequels just crapped on that and just forgot the story, and then some of the other Final Fantasies,
gameplay specific.
yeah, and then like some of the other Final Fantasies just they're not really story like driven. Like 13, they didn't really know what the story or anything about it was going to be until they released the demo, and I think story is something. And not really. Yeah, I feel like they should like focus more on the story though, and then that should be what they create the rest of it around.
I agree with that a lot. That was that's definitely what I argued in my paper was you game design around the story instead of the concept and work from there.
Story around
But
the design instead.
I think there's a fine line to that because I think I disagree with you. I think 13 did revolve around the story, but it kept growing and growing to out of proportion. And that's why they had to do 13.2 and 13.3, and they tried to fix what they broke, and they couldn't do a good job of it.
I think there's something about the writing of 13 that's a little bit off on the storytelling. Certainly people that don't know Final Fantasy previously would probably look at that game and say, wow, that is an in-depth story. And in some ways it is in-depth, but it's not as well told as some of the previous Final Fantasies, of course. Certainly what I want more in the Final Fantasies, I'm actually kind of with Emerline one here. I'm for the darker stories. as far as like a dark tone to it and actual like death and actual, consequences to violence, whatever, the antagonist in the game does, I'm kind of for that because, playing 6 and then playing 7, it's kind of like, oh, this is pretty awesome. This is what I like. But I like that in a lot of my media. I like a lot of dark stuff. So maybe that's just me. Certainly, with the light-hearted characters, maybe I feel like the most annoying characters tend to be the ones that are supposed to be the most likable. But maybe I'm just reading that wrong, like Yuffie or Riku or any, like you were saying, Caleb Craig, any like annoying kid character I just detest. But, some people like.
Alright, well, I guess it's my turn. So,
Yes, it's your turn, Schweik.
what I want more of in Final Fantasy. Well, I would like more stories that aren't super convoluted. I know there's not a ton of them, and 8 is really rough for that, but 8 was a while ago, so I can't really say, oh, I want more of this from this game that's, 17 years old or whatever. But I just want a really solid story, and I feel like that's been done pretty well since then. And 8's isn't completely horrible, obviously. There's some cool stuff in it, but it's kind of a stagger from 6, 7, and then 8. And then from what I hear of 9, it's amazing too, so it gets right back on track. So I want to see more solid stories like we got in the old days, like with 6 and with 4. Yeah. And the thing... And at the same time, if it doesn't have a fantastic story, like with 5, where most of the, 3/4 of the game was basically storyless, it has to be a blast to play. Because with a video game, at least for me, I need it to be fun and have a good story. Or at least one very strong point to outweigh the weak one of those two.
I like the gameplay of 13, so I felt like even though 13's story was lacking, I think almost everybody in the world agrees that 13's story was lacking. I loved 13's gameplay, so it did kind of balance out for me as far as that goes. Now 12 is a different take. I feel like the story was lacking and the gameplay was not to my taste. What do you guys feel about that?
On 13?
Yeah, 13 or anything like that, as far as balance goes.
Of
course, Mecha Messiah, how much of 13 have you played?
I played up to Grand Pulse on 13.
Oh, see, that's where
everybody stops.
That's the best part of the game.
That's the problem.
Grand
Is we get so tired, and I say we as a collective of people who've stopped at Grand Pulse. I speak for us, and when I say we get sick and tired of the game when it gets to Grand Pulse, you just don't want to play, even if it does get better.
Yeah,
it's fun.
It really is, and I mean, I even bought the strategy guide to try to burn through to try to get farther, and I just couldn't do it. And I'll go back and play it because I have to. But
yeah,
when it came out, and I was so excited for this, Final Fantasy 13, and then I'm playing through it, and this isn't what I was expecting, and this wasn't what I was expecting, to just eventually get to this part in the game, like disc 3 on the PlayStation, or on the Xbox 360 version, because of course we had to keep switching discs. I just was like, I'm done. I'm done for now. I'll come back to it later, and I haven't gotten back to it since.
Right. And I mean, that was kind of how I felt too. But my issue was, it came out a week before God of War 3, and then when God of War 3 came out, 13 collected dust. God of War 3 was awesome.
How dare you? You co-host a podcast about Final Fantasy.
Hey man, if there were more God of Wars, I could do God of War. But yeah, so along with the really good story, I don't know, I just kind of want more of a variety in the main character. I mean, and someone else touched on this down below. They feel like they should have more of a kind of a family. Like have a character that actually has a little more background. Like most of these main characters are, orphans, or you never see their family. And
that's going along with the hero's journey thing, though. They're going with the typecast.
It is, but it would be nice to have kind of a variety to that. It doesn't have to be the hero's journey for 17 to 20 games straight, You can change it up.
I think the issue
An arena film.
I think the issue with doing a family is you can fall into some even worse cliches with when you see a family with a character you can almost guarantee that family member is going to die because that person needs a cause, and so it's going to be the family dying, and you don't want to see, mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers dying to make this person have to fight. You'd rather them find a different way of doing it, and I know that's organic, but it's been done over and over again.
That's true.
I could see that. All right, so things I would like to see less of.
All right, hurry this up, Schweiss. We got some other questions to go to.
Oh, this is a good one, though.
All right.
So, things I would like to see less of. I'd probably have to say songs with lyrics in them. And I'm not going to bag on anyone in particular.
I agree with you totally.
Eyes on Me isn't really that bad. I think the one in 10-2 is atrocious in comparison. It is by far the worst Final Fantasy song I've ever heard. It's terrible.
The What Can I Do For You song?
Yes.
What can I do for you?
Good God, what is that? And, I think if they're going to bring a song with lyrics in it, they need to keep it in Japanese so that we don't know what they're saying, because it's horribly translated.
The Soup or Soup du Jour
Dene.
song. That song is okay.
I didn't even like the 13 soundtrack when they started singing, because I had gotten so tired of it through the other games. I'm just like, oh, God.
The 13 one was terrible because it was in English, and it sounded like it shouldn't have been, because the music was not written for English words.
It was foreign.
The final theme song at the end is a Leona Lewis song, and it's not actually written for the game.
Keep bleeding love.
Yeah, it's an okay pop song, but it's not written by the people behind Final Fantasy, so we can't really blame them on that.
No, but we can't blame them for putting it in there.
Yeah, we can blame them for putting it in there, that's true.
It's not like they were, forced. So, and then one other thing I'd like to see less of is the super crazy fucking character designs.
Nomura?
Maybe, I'm not trying to call out Nomura. Yeah, Nomura, I guess. I like his artwork.
Titus's pants
and Lulu's belts.
And Seymour's hair.
Like, what is the point of that?
I think we're just talking about 10 at this point.
It's so outlandish that I'm like, how am I supposed to feel like this is how am I supposed to have any connection to this dude when he has antlers as hair,
I don't think you're supposed to connect to Seymour.
Well, I'm supposed to connect to the others, and Waka looks like a quail with his hair that way.
Are you okay with Cloud's hair?
Cloud's hair, not maybe in 7 because it's crazy all over, but that's the graphics. When they updated him, yeah, it's fine. You can actually pull that off. But
Static X has shown us that you can pull anything off with hair.
But it just bugs me, and it doesn't. With 10, it's kind of nice because 10's obviously a fantastic game. I will not take anything away from it because of that. And the nice thing about 10 is they're talking, so you don't have to look at the characters as much, like their designs, and just be sitting there thinking, what the fuck? Or like Vaughn's shirt in 12. I'm like, why are you wearing a shirt? Just take it off.
It's not a shirt, it's like a half.
It's like a vest.
It's a vest that's like 6 times too small. So he's just wearing it over his shoulders.
Yeah, it's like, dude, get a new shirt.
Oh my God.
You've got the gill. I know you've got the gill.
Well, he's also got the 6-pack for the vest. Like, he can show that off.
True. So those are the couple things that I'd like to see less of, and it's not big enough to where I'm going to obviously just hate the series, but those are the things I'm going to be critical of the most.
All right, so our next question comes from Ren FM, who is a black mage on our forum. To gain the title of Final Fantasy, he says, "Hey guys, it's been a while. Been away on secret WRO business. Yeah, with so many side games and remakes Square has for FF, what do you think makes them decide what gets the Final Fantasy title? For example, Chrono Trigger or Bravely Default not being, Final Fantasy titles. So what do you think the process is for Square to design a game and then call it Final Fantasy if it's not like a main series game?"
Well, some of those games, like Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, and Xenogears, I think, were meant to be Final Fantasy games. But then they changed them to be something else because they felt like they weren't Final Fantasy enough to be called Final Fantasy. I don't know what the criteria is now for them, but for the older games, they just didn't have the same feel.
I find that's reversed logic because those older games, like Chrono Trigger and Xenogears, they weren't fantasy enough. And that's why they probably weren't made into Final Fantasy games. to flip that around now to Bravely Default not being too modern enough for Final Fantasy, and so we gave it different titles. So I think it depends on what might be popular at the time, what their direction of Square Enix is looking to go in. I don't know if there's a set criteria though. That would be, I mean, I would think that different parts of their studio are in charge of making these games, and it's just, I don't know. Do you think there's a code of conduct or a like a rule book that has to have certain things in it, other than a character named Sid?
I think for a main series Final Fantasy game, there probably is like some kind of connections. I mean, there's just a bunch of little ones, of course, that connect all the games together. But maybe for like spin-off games, they're probably designing games that have different titles, and then they realize that the game's not going to sell well, or they don't know how to like sell the game to a wide audience, and so they probably paste the name Final Fantasy on some of these spin-off games. Does anybody else feel that way?
Yeah, I think they can do that. With a lot of the spin-offs, they're usually direct sequels or continuations, like with the Sevens.
No, but like Final Fantasy Adventure or something like that.
Yeah, with that, I think, I don't know, it's probably that case. I mean, the same thing with Spirits Within, I feel. They had no idea what to name
they added
this.
the title Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and they did. It has Final Fantasy themes in it. We talk about that in the episode. It's more Final Fantasy than a lot of people realize, but I feel like they've done that, and I don't know, it doesn't necessarily work, especially in the case of Spirits Within, but I feel like they probably have.
I wonder how late in the process they're making these decisions as far as titles go. But we can never really know that information unless they just come out and say it.
Yeah.
All right, so our last question is from Void on the forums. Schweiss, do you want to read it? It's Final Fantasy Online.
Yeah. Alright, so Void asks, I'm not sure how much of 11 and 14 you guys have played, but I feel like you've mentioned both on the podcast a number of times. How do they compare? I could never get into Final Fantasy 11 when I tried, but I've seen so much praise for 14 that I think I'd like to try it eventually. What's similar about them, and what is different?
Okay, I've played a little bit of both. Who else has played these games?
I've played both.
I've only played 14.
So you guys talk.
So this will be me and Mecha Messiah. For my very limited experience on both of the games, Final Fantasy XI is a lot like a demo for Final Fantasy XII, maybe. They took a lot of the ideas from Final Fantasy XI, a large world that you have to explore through walking on giant step planes or whatever, and you attack the enemies in real time instead of getting into a random battle with them, which of course 14 is also like that. But 14 is a lot closer, from what I played of World of Warcraft, than Final Fantasy 11 is. Final Fantasy 11 has convoluted keyboard systems for controls, and there's also not that many people playing it. But as far as feel for the game goes, 11 is it's a lot closer to 12, of course, without any voice acting that I've found through my very limited playthrough. 14's a little different, though. You play 14, there's a large open world out there for you to explore, and it's also really playable. So if you're going to play one or the other, definitely play 14. At least that's how I feel from the few hours that I've played of both of the games. I
would agree with that. If you're going to try 11, there are private servers out there. I know that they're against the TOA, so I don't condone you using a private server, but if you want to play, I don't think there's anybody really stopping you at this point. But you can try it to get the gist of what the game is about on those servers, but 14 is worth an investment in playing. Now, like Joe said, Final Fantasy 11 does play kind of like 12. It's very archaic in comparison to today's massive multiplayer online games. The camera's fixed at a really weird angle. The controls, while you can play it with a keyboard with a controller, it was not meant to be played with a controller. So keyboard and mouse is your friend on that game. Whereas Final Fantasy 14 was meant to be played with a controller or a keyboard. So both controls are very natural. I posted on this in the forum. Final Fantasy 14, the first version, 1.0, is actually closer to 11 than it is to anything. It had that same type of combat system, and they completely changed it in 2.0 to make it more action-oriented Warcraft style, which is more accessible to many fans.
I never played 1.0.
But I basically said it comes down to preference. Final Fantasy is, in the sea of MMOs out there, it is just another drip in the pool. But what makes 14 really special right now is the community is still young enough where if you get on a good server, I know Caleb Craig's kind of on a crappy server with not people who don't like to help very much, but if you get on a good server with a lot of people who play the game, you can find a tight-knit group to play with, to have fun with, and you can go through the whole story with very minimal grouping. And I know with 11, the last time I played 11, you were forced to group for a lot of it because the difficulty level was so skewed. But 14 to me is the quintessential MMO for this era because the story is fantastic. The music is memorable. I bought both of the soundtracks for it because both the 14 and 14.2 soundtracks were terrific. But yeah, it I guess it's up to preference on that Void. I would give them both a try, but for 11, I wouldn't plop down $40 for the expansions to play it to not like it. I would find a private server and borrow a friend's CD to install it if you just want to see what the hype is, or even just watch Joe's Let's Plays. I mean, you'll get a good idea about the first couple levels doing that. Well, yeah, but he'll get an idea of how to play it, and he can avoid the frustration and just learn from yours.
Right, learn from my mistakes. Oh, man. All right, so that's it for our question segment, and that is going to be it for our episode. Mecha Messiah, thank you so much for being on our podcast today, and we might have you on in the next couple months. Who knows? If you're okay with that, of course.
Oh, no, perfect. No, thank you for letting me on. Hey, do you mind if I just shout out to my own podcast that I do? It's not Final
Certainly,
Fantasy.
you can do any of your plugs that you wish.
Sure. No, I just my friend Brian and I, we do a podcast called Suite 12, like the building SUITE 12, and ours is about TV and film, and we do just kind of lists, random lists of favorites and leasts and all that kind of stuff. So give us a shout out on iTunes and Stitcher and all those fun places if you want to listen to another one that's not Final Fantasy related. I know this is pretty much my weekly podcast is listening to this and swinging sexy fan fiction. So if you need a break,
nice.
Go ahead and look up Suite 12, and we're there. We'll be there every week too for some different kind of discussion on movies and fun things. We just did our holiday episode, so Christmas movies galore.
Sweet. Didn't you say you had an old podcast?
It was the same one. Yeah, we did it 4 years ago. We took a hiatus.
Oh, okay.
And in that 4 years, of course, I was in college and then movie, and I lost all those old audio archives. So we just decided to rebrand and just basically reboot Final Fantasy XIV style.
Nice.
So same podcast, same crew, but new topics and better equipment. So it makes it all more fun.
Way to go. All right. Thank you very much, Mecha Messiah. And thank you, Caleb Craig and Caleb Schweiss. Make sure you go to ultimafinalfantasy.com. You can join us on the forums there. You can contact us on Twitter at UFF Podcast. And please support us on Patreon. All of our bills are paid for right now. Anything extra, of course, will help, go to new equipment or whatever. We certainly need a better mic for Caleb Schweiss. And some kind of way, to record with other people a little easier than just TeamSpeak. So we're thinking at the $75 mark, we'll get an online phone line so that, during our question segment, we can have people call in if they wish. So make sure you guys support us there. Thank you, Mecha Messiah, for supporting us on Patreon. Of course, it is.
Oh, it's no trouble at all. It was
You're helping quite a bit.
Yeah, no, it's well worth it just to listen to you guys and to continue with your dream. I know how fun it is to podcast and every little bit helps, but it was more than worth it to just have you guys be able to continue your dream.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it means a lot.
All right, we're going to sign off now. Schweiss.
Enjoy the grind.
Really?